All right. So let's go ahead and again, same plan, the same thing that you guys hopefully have been doing. And I've had, maybe two trades on the ETFs going for the last couple of weeks. But you look at where we open, we're bouncing right off of the floor. This is not, I obviously expect for the gap to get filled. This is where we can look at the possibility of the rip up, right? Pop, move up, one, two, and can't have that on my background. So anyway, I am looking for a potential bounce on SPY and gap fill moving. Oh, nope, I still got the same band. Okay. So anyway, moving on. That floor right there, we have a box underneath us. This is where we're, again, going to stick to the game plan. I'm not trading in range. If, and I can say this definitively, if we get above cost basis and outside of, this is 63.12, that is where I am absolutely sure that we will go and try and attempt to make that break. People could have just reported me enough where the algorithm or AI just automatically kind of targets me. What do you guys think of the white charts? Be honest. Do you guys like it? I don't like it. I don't like it. Don't like it. Me neither. Black is better. All right. Wouldn't even be racist. Just kidding. I'm just joking. Yeah, we can go back. I would prefer that. Thank you for your honesty. I was trying to see if it would help me kind of dodge the little ban that I keep getting every day, but whatever. All right, so you guys, is it thumbs up in the chat? Is everybody clear um on yeah. Is everybody clear on where we're at with the ETFs this week? Today's bounce absolutely I mean, perfect, right? In line exactly with the floor. So if you plan on trading in range, you know where you can take that above that 62.80. But other than that, uh, well, did I say that when would I take a trade? I mean, if you wanted to try to long, there's obviously speculation behind taking it off of the floor. But I think that if you're going to take it at 63.12, like above that top, or if you're looking at SPY, right, it's going to be right there. Right? Is that so for us, a candle close on the 4 hour outside of 624.50, that's where you'll go for the gap fill. And that's where, I mean, honestly, this, if you see, this is where the drawing that I made on Friday, where we moved down to the floor and then moved back up to the top. So I'm absolutely sure that that's, at least for the time being. What I mean, does this not look like a fucking perfect ETF play? So if you wanted to take it on the floor, you want to take it above 62 or 624.80, 624.75, that's potentially a clear setup. So actually, I probably should just open that back up. Oh, don't want that. One second, I'm just opening this up. Why is this popping up with after hours? So gross. All right, so let's take a look at the Qs or NQ going into the same situation, guys. It's perfect. So honestly, this one has more projections off the top. It is gapped. It did gap down and kind of reach down a little bit lower. We have a box underneath us on the NQ right about here. That's 22. I don't know, 22,770, right in that mark. But of course, this has that same potential that I wouldn't really trust until it gets over that 23K. So that being said, again, taking a look at the Qs, we're liable to be opening up right around this floor, or maybe even potentially right around that 551. So for us, it would be right above 555 that we would be looking for that potential upside. And then if we do have downside, right, we also have to consider that with this gap down. If we were to gap fill really quickly and completely reverse, you have a target down at 548 or 448, but no, 548. Sorry, what the hell am I talking about? Tips on dodging the draft. Bone spurs, from what I hear. Right. So moving on from the Qs, we'll cover RTY really quickly. This one had a significant gap down, decent significant gap down, pulled back, kind of scraped underneath, but trying to pull itself back up. This one, of course, does offer a gap fill and 2250 retest. Again, it's coming close to that trend line. I also have a 2221 bounce on RTY for IWM. That's going to translate to a gap down. I'm going to go ahead and assume right around this 219.26. So underneath that, again, I don't really have the greatest play on IWM. I do see a drop down to this potential 217.25. And if you're aiming, there's a gap down at 219. So, all right. So that's about it for our ETFs. Again, we are opening up in range. Again, we did have a gap down and a gap to fill in 3 waves. So we are getting very close. This could be the week, folks, that we actually end up seeing a fucking move in the direction. That in any direction. And that's what we want, is we want that tension to break. And if you've been waiting and sitting on cash, this is the opportunity for you to start watching. All right. IWM, SPY, QQQ, still a little bit range bound, but we are going to take a look at the watch list that we have been dealing with over the weekend, and not to pick favorites, but Neo. This one absolutely insane, and I hope that this one really convinces people that just even if you're not using punchbacks, just the consolidation itself is usually a great bet. Lowers the price of those contracts, and of course, we reaped the benefits of that by reaching all the way into $4. Able to sell some of these. I still have contracts at 1,100%, but they did. For me, I on a couple of the contracts or a couple of the strikes that I bought, hit 2,000%. So absolutely ridiculous play. I am planning on making a video for that. So if you guys did make any money on that, I would ask if you have any screenshots, throw that on the comments if you wish. But going forward, right, we do have an area of consolidation that I've kind of mapped out as being right here. Candle closes and taps are at 390. So we're going to go ahead and assume that that's the floor that needs to be held right there, right? So if we bounce or wick off of something, 390 is going to be the mark. Of course, the highs of 405 are going to be where we're looking for an attempt to go break up above 421. And this is the pocket, right? And I'll get rid of this empty, this box, because it's not really relevant. This is the pocket that I do think that it is reasonable potentially to see Neo reach all the way up into the 470s. And so if you are still holding with me, we had good candle closes. I'm not scared of anything that is happening right now. Obviously, if the rest of this play doesn't work out and I got to get out at 800% or 500%, so be it. But I think it's worth exploring the potential here. And who knows, maybe we see I don't know how China's doing right now, but if Chinese markets are, I actually not really sure how to check that, if I'm being honest with you. I've never really looked at Chinese market. I know that there's some fee. If anybody knows that, actually, any of the Chinese futures markets. But that being said, I'm hoping to see a gnarly gap up. If I'm being honest with you, I just want to see a nice fat ass gap up. 445, 450, of course, will be a resistance. It is a strike price. It will be a resistance. Okay. All right. So Neo was one of the big ones. Tesla, I know a lot of you guys have your eyes peeled on. I also am peeling my eyes on this one as well. With the gap down, we'll see how far this takes us. But of course, if those gap futures get filled, we still have a target up above us at 321.81 and empty space up to 340. potentially going for a third tap on this resistance. If not, underneath or this box that we're dealing with here with a 302 top and a 392 bottom and a cost basis centralized at 397.65. If that punches down, we are looking at some potential downside. I wonder if we're having a tornado right now. Hey, babe. Babe, keep your eyes on the weather, okay? Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay. We got some sideways trees outside. Yeah, I know. BlackRock's engineering the weather to flood me out. I After all these floods happening, I'm actually buying a flat bottom boat. And then I'm gonna get a carrying case for my PC. I don't know. The trees are very sideways right now. Excuse me, guys, as I check for my life. God damn! Look at that. There goes my computer. It's Mossad. Yeah, straight up. A couple mil. I mean, if I stay in America, a lot. Okay, that looks pretty severe. Oh shit, this thing's about to slam right into me. Yeah. All right, well, let's get your guys' request done here. So before I drown, just kidding, too soon. Not even fun. That actually wasn't a joke about anything relevant. But let's see, what else do we have? Damn, BA. Yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and drop your request, dude, it is fucking coming down outside right now. All right, yeah, Neo. I do have some Mara runners that I held on to, but that one fell back pretty quickly. I'm waiting to see if it's going to bounce off of 1866, but we'll see when we get there. Yeah. Um, all right. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. I know that BA actually moved up overnight, or at the end of the day, shooting up to 231. So my expectations are that you're going to go and hit 234.58. So again, looking for that gap to get filled. You're going to split that gap in half like this and aim for that 240 as well. And remember, guys, we are looking to build a watch list. So if you have anything new or anything that we have not already looked at, I don't have a very, like, again, the last couple of weeks, we've had a pretty sweet watch list, and I'm trying to create the same one. I've obviously looked a little bit, and I'm going to look tonight as well after our stream, but that is what we're trying to nab. So all right, AMD. I think has lost some serious tradability, but I don't think it's worth. And again, this is a range. I really think that the next target is 150. I think that's the simplest target, and I think the second target's going to be right here at 153. It's not something that I would necessarily want to trade, but I also want to mention that it is possible because you are tapping up in the same area to create a large box or area of consolidation. If, and again, you are likely to gap down here. So you would need to gap fill, and then on the 4 hour, it's 147.82 that needs to be needs to be broken to the upside. All right, that's cool. All right, Potter, thinking about joining the Discord. Do you have any promos for newbies? I just changed the workshop to I think 6 months in the Discord, including the workshop and the latest one that we've done, and all of the homework and testing material that comes with it. But any like codes or anything, I don't have anything like that at the moment. Jesus Christ. Gulp. It wasn't working. Wait till until he hits a trade. If Neo goes to fucking $5, we'll do a Neo discount. If it goes to $5, shit. If it goes to 450, I might hit it. All right, so you got two targets to the downside from what I can tell on the 24-hour. It looks like it's going to be 67.21 and 66.60. You left a really nice box up above you, so don't get it twisted. This thing could come back up on you. I'm not sure. Yeah, be careful with this channel. Hopefully, you get a gap down to one of those targets, but those are the two targets that I see underneath you. If this is all-time highs? Yeah, so I mean, maybe a small retest. I would even be looking for a bounce. So 70%? Jesus Christ. Hell no. I like discounts, but oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, we'll do whatever discount the percentage we made. No, I'm kidding. All right, what do we got next, guys? Give me something good. What do we want to? What do I want? A good setup. What do I want it? In whenever it sets up. That one's gonna come and try and test $200.80. Ooh, big thunder strike. Jesus. $200.80 or yeah, 80 cents. It's kind of odd. You do have empty space to 193, 194 there. But unless I'm wrong on the box, which I don't think I am, I would be expecting to lose 250 and at least retest that bottom. Where you go from there, again, you have triggers underneath you. You'd have to measure each one. Um, let's see, Pepsi. Yeah, so great. And this one we can put on the watch list. We know it's already on the watch list. A lot of you guys are already with me or in with me for this earnings play. Yes, I am holding. Yes, I am. Um, that's fucking hilarious, Kevin. But yeah, so we have a beautiful box. We've got a little bit of empty space. Obviously, 131 would be a potential, and you guys can write these targets down for earnings. 131 is the downside target, so we'll look for something near that for a hedge. The upside target for me, I'm looking at the 140s, and that's just plain and simple. There's no need to overcomplicate that. I ran across a YouTube video doing fair value gaps and order blocks, kind of look a little bit like yours. Of course, it's going to look similar to mine, but the dynamic of recognizing the 50% mark as the trigger for new highs is a lot more simple than whatever the hell they got going on. That's my opinion. So 131 down, 140 up. All right, moving up. I just have Pepsi, which a lot of us already have. I don't know any relation, dude. I created my shit. In fact, when I created the Potter box, or when I finally recognized what I was doing, there was no mainstream ICT shit. I didn't have a name and shit. Or fully formulated course or anything like that on it. But Target, again, this one is getting closer to earnings, but it does have a possibility to try to move up and hit that 112. This one stays on the watch list, so you can write this one down as well. It is a good setup, for sure. Damn. Are we bearish this week, Mother Nature? Fucking blowing my shit away right now. We had a funnel touchdown a couple of days ago. It's pretty lit. All right. Let's see what else. Keep dropping your requests, guys. Shop. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this one, Shirley, is I just don't like the lack of empty space. So it looks like it's brewing, a potential move that I can say for sure. Where it rejected is a place where it's rejected in the past before. It's already gone and filled up all of its empty space. So one could start to, look at the potential here for a downside move. But again, that's only speculation because all you really have to go off of is this channel. And it even looks like you're getting shoved back down underneath this. So with that being said, is this something that and this is just me, you got to, do what you see. If you think this looks good for you, I see a target of 99.67, and then right in that little area right here at 96.50, that's basically where I would be aiming as well. So, um, yeah, all right, TTD. So this one can be added to the watch list. Obviously, has a ton of empty space. Now, something that I do want to, as we add this to the watch list, something that I do want to recognize is that it definitely likes to move on earnings. If you'll notice, a lot of its more fluid movement and some of its larger moves come on earnings. So we have to take that. I mean, again, empty space, you come off of this earnings right here, and then you do fill it up. But it certainly wasn't as huge as this, right? So my thoughts at the moment are, again, you are right at cost basis on that box up above. And if we do break 79.80, you don't really have much of a choice. You kind of have to look at a potential position, looking at 85. And this is where the empty space is so large that, in my opinion, the only way to really do this is to only almost cut it like a cake. You got to cut it in slices. So 87 would be a target, 894, 80 would be a target, and then the same thing above, 103, and then of course 112. So, this is a interesting setup that we can recognize likes to move on earnings, right? When it has a catalyst. And that is important to, I think, recognize in this scenario. So, all right, moving forward, Amazon. So this has a little bit of empty space. It kind of retreated here towards the end of the day. Hopefully the gap down really doesn't doom you. You are gapped down. So if Amazon is gapped down after popping up, retesting, and pulls back in, it's going to need to re-break out of 224.77 and fill that gap. And that'll be the good thing, is that if it leaves a gap up above, it more than likely will try to go fill it at some point. If and when it fills it, it filled up 50% of that empty space at 226.75. So the clear target is 228.50 easy. 228.40. Yeah, you got it. OSCR, Oscar Health. So I drew a range on this, and it's too weird to call a box almost, but I'm just looking for this floor at the gap or the bottom of the box to get filled at 1392. Is that a good bounce level? This is basically operating inside of a huge fucking, it looks like gap. If you go look at gap on the weekly, it's identical. Maybe they follow each other. No, but seriously, there is empty space. So if you start, I think one of the more important levels is going to be 1350. If 1350 is lost at that point, I would start looking down to some of these major targets like 930. What's up, Danny? Nothing much, dude. Looking to make a couple more thousand, maybe 2,000% trade. I'm hoping for a fucking 10,000% trade on Neo, man. We got 1,100% off of just 2 days of rippage, so we can get just a little more. Not being greedy, the chart says there's more. An INBIS. What the fuck is this? And I'll let you guys know if I add something to the watch list, so I'm not gonna, no mysteries here. So I mean, this is the easy answer here is you're more than likely going to be moving back down to this box. You left a box or an area of consolidation up above. And so the goal would be to, if you're bullish, to bounce back up and reclaim 47.16 and break cost basis and make a new high. Or if you're bearish and lose 41.80, it's cost basis at 39 that would drive price even lower. Where can I see the watch list at? I can tell you what it is: Pepsi, Target, and TTD. But like, I put putting a little question mark by it because it's still a waiting game on that one. Again, it has to be perfect, guy. And you know, I encourage you to explore what you see. But at some point, you know, we have to acknowledge, you know, what a good empty space. That's what we're looking for. So BBAI filled up all of its empty space, and 822 is clearly the target. Not sure if it tapped cost basis, not quite, but it did lose floors that it needed to hold, like 675. So I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be touching 590 this week. Is Neo the play for the week? Dude, Neo is a play that we're already in. And so, like, I would hate to tell you to buy Neo and you be buying our contracts. You know, not, I don't think a lot of us have the fives, but a lot of us do have fours and 450s. So, no, I am not in KSS, man. I bailed out. Small loss on that one, but um, if I miss your request, just drop it again. I'm not ignoring anybody on purpose. I'm just grabbing the first one. So Apple has to be put on the watch list, right? It's not the most spectacular. I mean, it is spectacular in the sense that, you know, Apple will consolidate for. Let's do a little bit of a thought, you know, in a little experiment here, back testing. We can basically say, and maybe there's some time, you know, relatability that we're looking at, that could be, you know, what we're looking at now, right? A certain number of days, because Apple does this quite often, where it likes to consolidate for an extended amount of time in these really wide set. I mean, that's actually pretty accurate as well. Really wide. Check this out right over here. Bam. So actually, you know, on a weekly basis, before you make some of these larger moves, it is coming off of, you know, what we could consider to be a very long, um, you know, period of consolidation. Here it had a lot more liquidity, so it seems like it moves a little bit more fluidly. But that being said, right, one way or another, we're looking for a move here. And a couple things that I want to acknowledge here, because I know that there's a bias and we have one to the upside. And this area that we're trying to reclaim, 212.75, or in our case, in the most recent price action, 213.50, it's directly above us at 215.60 and all the way up to 220, which is the upside target. But we also can't ignore the fact that there is some downside targets below 207, which would drive us into the 205s, right? Which, of course, when you're inside of an area of consolidation like this, the rules are, you know, again, we're looking for that third one. And after this dip down and rip, you know, it's hard not to look at the upside at least first, even potentially going all the way to 234. And that's what I'm anticipating. And what I'm hoping to see is a move up towards this trend line that we lost in the first place, and make our move up into that 230 to 240. So how do I see liquidity on the chart? The way that you move, like when we were back here, just bigger rips, cleaner price action. Uh, you'll see like these clean, I mean, bullish long waves. And recently, it's been a lot of the sideways. See how erratic, very wicky, starts to squish up a lot, grind. Look how you grind in this, and you rip and you rip and you rip. So like, you know, that's one of the characteristics that I did trade Apple for and then stopped trading it for because it just didn't offer that. And you'll very much uh see that from me is I don't really trade it. What do I mean by empty space? Empty space is just where stocks or price has fallen rapidly. So we target areas of empty space for 98% of our trades, because we know that price moves quickly in these areas, and therefore we can grab target-based contracts. Typically, you know, again, we like to grab shorter expiration contracts where there is no resistance left. So maybe a median target like at 230, but otherwise, like outside of 225, we'd like to target the first green candle to our left. We know that price moves fast in these areas, so this allows us to grab cheaper out of the money contracts and play them up. That's not the cleanest empty space in the world, but all right. What do we got? Mara and Laura. It's fucking crazy, dude. All right. Okay, so PSTG went up, hit the 50% mark, and I know that was hard to spot, but there was a from here to here, and you hit that perfectly. You pulled back, and if you can't save 55.75, this is liable to move back down. Now, in the most recent price action, this is a large area of consolidation, so that'd be 53.43. Now, if you can move back up and bounce and engulf this candle, obviously the first targets would be the floor at 60.50 and then looking to target up here as well. What app do I use? I use TradingView. Thank you guys for the gifts, guys. I didn't even see those. Appreciate that. Yeah. Worse. A different language. Thanks. So the apps would be needed. Maybe like learn because he's speaking in a different language. Gregory, dude, everybody starts in the same place. Right. Every single person in here could raise their hand if I asked them if it sounded like I was talking in Chinese when they first started listening to me. So, don't think that you're anywhere different. But if you go and look on my YouTube channel, that's going to be a great place for you to get started. Kind of get to know what I do here, what I'm looking to accomplish. Stop it. But what I'm looking to accomplish. You can go to the playlist, and you can go to the educational playlist. And every time I do that, I look terrible. But you can look in this right here, and obviously explaining my strategy and a lot of yeah. Anyway, how long has this live been? I've been live for about 39 minutes. Right now we just have Pepsi, Target, TTD, Neo, and Apple, but these are all ones that we've already had on there. So if you want me to be opinionated on your chart on whether or not I like it or I would add it to my watch list, you can mention that, and I'll fucking roast your chart harder. GTLB, Get Labs. So it looks like you had a small box right around here. I'd be aiming for 4150 first. It's a little bit, it's more almost like more like a range, or it was a punchback. But honestly, yeah, I think if you jump, that was a punchback. So I would say your floor right here is likely going to be your target to the downside. But yeah, you already filled up your empty space down. So yeah, I appreciate that, Gregory. Yeah, hopefully we can get you up to speed, dude. And you don't need a lot of money to trade with me. You don't even need to buy anything from me to be able to trade with me. I think how many of you guys are free and took Neo with us. I know not everybody is here at the moment, but all right. Let's keep it moving, guys. I'm trying to. I need it. Nike to the downside. So until the whole market is kind of moving in that direction, I'm a little bit wary on the downside. But I did talk about you need to bounce at 72.32. So if you can do that, you could still have some upside potential. Underneath that, though, however, you do have 70.80, and if that breaks down, I would be looking at a $69 retest. And of course, that could give way all the way to 64. So LMT. So if this doesn't have a metric aston of consolidation, and I very much think that if you are watching LMT, you are looking for a large move. That is a period, end of story. There is a large move, whether that means we're going to go back and revisit the floor before we make that move. right? And this is going to take a whole hell of a lot of patience. Or if we can, buyers have already have enough volume, and we can drive ourselves up and out of this box over here to our left, which we've been rejecting, which has a $500.50 cost basis, which is a big psychological number. And at that point, I really would just be acknowledging things like this floor at 520 and this 530. But the potential here is pretty, in the most recent price action, you have these pockets of empty space. And I think that's worth exploring. Also, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the only variable here was this bad boy. Which, man, if you did come back down in a reasonable amount of time, you could get close enough to actually wick that and then move back up. But, again, this is going to take a whole hell of a lot of patience, I think. So, MS earnings coming up. Yeah, Citigroup, Moni has earnings as well. So again, I'm going to be honest with you guys about these earning setups. The only way that I could trade this or try to trade it is by speculating on like 150 above, and then as the downside target would be 133.67. But I think the most important thing that all of you guys need to be doing if you're looking at earnings trades is look at how it's performed in the past. If it performs decently, opens up the next day, and it keeps moving, I mean, this one actually looks like it's not bad. Yeah, it doesn't look like it, disappoints. Sometimes you have some shitty earnings, but yeah. That being said, that's where you have your empty space. Otherwise, you have to kind of figure that one out for your own. Citigroup also has earnings, and this is going to be the same situation. I've got a 80.65 target and a 82.25 target if it pulls back and breaks down. But again, otherwise, you're looking at possibly 90 or 95. But again, that's not my strong suit and wouldn't add it to the watch list due to that. So, oh man, bonds. So I stay away from charting bonds too much. Not because it doesn't work, but just because it is just a pain in my ass. That being said, right now we're sitting on a major 24-hour cost basis. The upside would be above 87. That's a pretty much period end of story for an 87.50 retest. And then to the downside, I personally would be looking at 84.26 as a potential target to the downside. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's bonds. It's that one's a little bit rougher and definitely takes a whole hell of a lot of patience. Bank of America also has earnings, and it also is close enough to empty space-ish. I guess you do still have a target. I guess the no-brainer target there for Bank of America would likely be $50. On the upside. To the downside, you're limited to 45. So 45 and 50 are your two targets. All right. ABVE. This week's earnings isn't, I think the earnings after that is going to be more or less what I'm looking at. All right. So this is, man, this is wild. I mean, if I'm charting this correctly, and this is actually real, obviously 345, and I'd be looking up to 789 and $8 flat. I mean, again, and that's if you can hold 250. If not, you would be looking at 168 potentially if that's lost. So, can I see CCJ? Sure. News is asset tokenization. Okay. Okay, so this is actually a relatively interesting wow, I haven't looked at CCJ in a long time. How is AA? That one takes patience, but that one actually looks interesting again. Yeah, actually, you know what? On your monthly, you're up against the floor. Sorry, I know you wanted me to charge CCJ, but made me think of this one. I just can't really find. I'm gonna have to go with the inner workings here. So there's your trend, obviously, but we're looking all the way up there. There's good potential behind this one to go back up into the 60s. I might have to keep an eye on that one myself. Long play though. You got empty space above you all the way to 33, outside of 31. I might set an alert on that one. All right. So anyway, CCJ, I'll write that one down. That one's kind of we'll see. So anyway, going into CCJ, this one is at the highs, but again, if you're looking at the box rotations, or if you're just looking at a simple channel like you are here, you have a target directly up above you as a confluential target, and that's going to be 74.89. Okay, so that right there, and then if that can break clear, you can go and try and touch 80. So Tony, if you need to go through my Discord, go to the link in my bio, the website, and then you can go from there and click on the little Discord icon, and that'll be the free Discord. So um learned a lot from you, dude. Thank you for your lives. Hey man, I really do appreciate that, guys. I'm glad that I think the coolest thing is Bobby reminded me of this in January. I made some changes in the Discord, and I said that this is where we were going to lock in and try and move in positive direction and get everybody up to speed. And man, if we haven't actually saw a good amount of people, I mean, they're doing it. They're independent traders. You know, you can't take that away from them. They're the only people who could take it away from them now. But you know, they're making money. Some people who, you know, I know D Train out there. I don't know if you're watching or you're watching this back later, but you know, I'm super proud of you. You know, you got so much on your plate. You know, it's honestly inspiring for a lot of people who, you know, feel overwhelmed. Like, you know, you got three boys and, you know, all the two jobs. It's pretty cool to see. No, I'm not on Discord right now. All right. It's CNX. Oh Lord have mercy. Aluminum company. So this is definitely a grinder, you know, and low and slow, but I think you are accumulating for a move to the top. And that's something that you wouldn't spot if you weren't on the weekly time frame. You're still holding up a decent uptrend here, right there. It looks like you could always try and slip and fall a little bit further, but it seems like buyers are in control, kind of in this upper channel. So you could be definitely looking at a $29 and $30 target to the upside. I think first target being obviously 25, which did fill up all of the empty space. So you're going to need volume to get where you need to go. You do have a gap down below you. So if you fail to break outside of 2160, that gap is a vulnerability. So your charting has helped me get over 500 followers on Webull. I always post your live times there. Oh, dude, are you serious? Yeah, man. Tell them it's free to learn. I'm here. I am recording this, yes. MO. Uh, so this is definitely, again, not something that I'm really fond of as far as putting on the watch list. You do have blocks and blocks and blocks of consolidation, and also flat floors like this one here. So that's going to be 56.23. That'll clearly be a target underneath you. You had a box that you came back and retested. That's given that away as 54 as a target to the downside underneath 56.30. So above 58.60, you know, is basically what we're looking at. So um, NOW service now. Holy dog crap. So I get why you're watching this one, and it did just fall off a cliff. Now, when it hits a floor, it likes to consolidate, pull down, retest, and break down. So, you know, off of whatever, and earnings is coming up. So I think that's also something to take into consideration. Is I mean, shit, dude. I mean, this could be a monster play down to 825. If you're looking at the whole enchilada, it could be just an 867 play. But ultimately, there's just one little floor right here that's going to end up being the thing that holds you up. And I think that's 932, which you're at now. So I would pay attention for a potential bounce off of that and a retest of some. So, I mean, realistically, it is a candle close underneath. It's 930, 929 that give you that next leg down. But again, I will say this, and you might not want to hear it. I don't like taking things after they've moved. I want them. Oh, Moni, you are D Train. Oh shit! How did I not fucking put that together? Excuse my language. On TikTok, I thank God every day for you and pray. Thank you, Moni. Definitely need somebody praying for me. I really appreciate that though, and I'm super proud of you. If I haven't said that, I mean, yeah, super inspiring, but just you know, I told my grandma about it. If that tells you anything. All right. Roast the Amazon chart. So it's limited in its space. So you already tapped 50% of the way and you only have a limited amount of empty space. So you're either banking on this thing ripping through up to 234, but the risk to reward on this just seems skewed. So PayPal, so probably not something I would. It does have empty space up there, and that's encouraging. PayPal has been the bane of my existence. That and XYZ, they both have been massive underperformers. This box right here, clearly serving its purpose: rejection off a cost basis, loss of the floor, and so realistically, I think you need. And this is not. It was a box. It's not a box anymore because you technically punched through it. But looking at those same targets, I think you're looking back down towards 69.30. But you are at the median. So if you can save face here, and I think that's going to be dictated, obviously, we need to see how price action opens up. But right there, it's already telling you, look, 71.90, and you can start working your way back up. I think it's 72.50, and then that median 73.50 there. So awesome, Moni. Yeah, that's amazing. Are your boxes only bodies and no wicks? My boxes are based off points of contact, but typically I like candle closes because they exhibit control. Like this right here, it has wicks, but it's mostly off. So if the wicks and the bodies are off the same marks, that's where I'll place that. But it's points of contact and control that I'm looking for ultimately. So, all right. So for SoFi, there's a little bit of a lower time frame setup, but you and damn near might as well be in all-time highs, but let's go ahead and measure this box out and see how it's correlated with that. So as you can see, that is 2165. That is the floor that needs to be recovered to give you your next target of 2275. So you're going to have to be down on a lower time frame to kind of figure out how this is going to play out in your favor or if it's going to play out in your favor. So the first thing that I see is a box underneath you. You're bouncing off the top. Your cost basis is 2092. If that breaks down, you would immediately have a 2026 target. And of course, the real breakdown, or where I would really start to look at SoFi pulling back, I would say underneath 2060 and through that punch back at $20, you have a gap fill and it'd be 1932 on the 24 hour, and that would go and fill your gap, and that would be the first target down. So yeah, definitely a little bit of a tougher setup, just because you have to play it on the lower time frames, and some setups are like that. That's as you get better at charting, you'll realize that some setups call for longer outlooks, some call setups look for shorter, less profitable outlooks. You got to determine, or even ones that just call for more and that's what I'm trying to avoid. And I'm trying to lead by example by showing you guys what that looks like, because I don't want to show up when the market's opening up in range. I don't want to show up when there is no empty space, or I just came off of 3 weeks of rippage. But anyway, APLD. So this was clearly the top of a box, and it would be 891, 833, and 771 is your three targets to the downside. Your upside is going to be determined by this box, and so any one of those targets I just gave could serve as a bounce level. If you can bounce, it would be the bottom of that box at 980 or 977 and 1050, or excuse me, 1025, that you'd be looking at a retest. Again, this is not something I would put on my watch list. I think main reason, just because this is, a dollar move that you're essentially looking for, and that's discouraging. Okay, so run, that one's actually pretty interesting because you did go up. You tapped the box that I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago. We built a box right here. I said this was an interesting setup if it could rip through this box up above. And so far it is building or consolidating where it needs to hold. So that's a positive. I think one way that we can test, and again, this is something that I've taught you guys, it's higher level Potter box stuff, but how can we determine, right? How can we determine inside of a box if there is a higher probability of a reversal? Do you guys know? This has definitely been in the Potter box. We talked about it on Pepsi with that reversal, and that paid off big time. So what can we pull from this chart inside of the box that we can already spot that might be a reason why run could get back up and out, right? Because this is one of those setups where, you know, it matters how you build the box. All right, so I'm assuming fault. There you go. So empty space, right? It's the same thing every time, guys. That I only have a 50% empty space. It's going to be a series of answers. So there's empty space, right? Now you're bouncing, interestingly enough, trying to hold that old $10 floor. You have 1, 2. I personally think it's better for you to, and this is the shitty part, is, okay, so we don't know what's going to open up at. You want to gap down. If you are bullish, you want to gap down, right? 1, 2, 1, and you want to go and bounce. And listen, I can't promise you guys, but I can say that there is, for me, I would be, you know, if this was what on my watch list, I would be pissed if I didn't try, because I know it's cheap, at 950. Or even if it came down to 923, that empty space will be the reason why run reruns. This is, you know, I say higher level shit, but once you've been doing this for a while, this shit really starts to click. And then when you prepare like this, like a run can get put on the watch list. If I haven't said that, run can get put on the watch list, because, you know, it does have a decent amount of empty space. I think, you know, targeting 1355 at the right time in the $10 area is definitely a profitable move. But I also think that going to the 4-hour exposes its true price target, which should be at 17, right? You might ask me, why, how the fuck did you get that number, asshole? That's because it has a floor that we're fighting, right? We're going to be fighting for. If that floor is reclaimed, in the same thing that I'm telling you, right? The same reason why I'm calling for a reversal, that's empty space, and that's a gap at $17. So I want to just point something out if you guys are learning, if you're watching this back on YouTube. Do you see how easy that was? Not easy, but I didn't have to work very hard to describe priced action, right? I didn't have to break my brain or rip through every single time frame. This is what I'm looking for. If you guys really, honestly, I'm learning this more and more. Simple is better. Simple is better. For some reason, these young dudes, I'll say dudes because it's mostly knucklehead young dudes who just want to make shit harder. And they even like have kind of a weird ego about it. Like, yeah, I'm doing the shit that nobody else wants to do. No, you're doing the shit that's just flat out fucking damn near impossible, and trying to get everybody to think that you're special for it. But in reality, you know, the easier and I think more relaxed way to trade is to trade the things that do make sense. And one of my favorite comments I've ever got on a video was from some guy, and he goes, well, that was an obvious trade, super easy. Why are you bragging about it? And I'm like, what do you want it to be fucking hard? I make it easy to understand. Well, I'll try to get you guys there as well. And yeah, you know, one of the things I talked about in the last class was, you know, if you really, really actually, you know, want to be able to do this on your own, eventually you're going to have to go and do it on your own for real. And even teaching people or talking to other people in the Discord will be helpful. You know, you can still talk to others, but, you know, if you ask me, you know, who signs off on your trades, you know, are my trades, who tells me that this is a good setup? Me. You know, at the end of the day, it's me, nobody else, me. And so I have to be, you know, or rather, I'm trying to push that on into people's psyche. You know, it's like, if I give you the tools and you watch me do it 100 times, at some point now it's time for you to go and try, and you're going to fail And you better be ready and embrace that failure and whatever lesson that it brings. And in order to make sure that's not painful, you use low risk, which means that you're putting in 100 or $200, because we know damn well that if you guys look at Neo, you could have put $50 or $100 into that and made a considerable amount of money. So how many tickers on the watch list so far? I'm assuming I missed a lot. Right now it's a lot of the old ones: Pepsi, Target. I put TTD with a question mark. Neo is still on there, but we're still eating off of that one. It's not a take. I shouldn't have it on like the new watch list, but Apple, still waiting and watching that one. AA is going to be a longer play, and then Sunrun, which I'm looking at right now. So, all right. So the next one I see is Docu. So right off the bat, because of how quickly it is moving, it is not something that I would put on my watch list. Now I can see a floor clearly underneath you, and that's going to be right here at 71.70. So if that's something that you feel like you want to try to take part in, because there is a gap there, and that is likely to get filled. That being said, how you respond to that will determine whether you're heading to 68.70. Actually, I take that back. Sorry, 67.75. Easy floor right there. Or bouncing and looking to reverse, because honestly, when I look at this, hold on, wait. I see some pretty interesting potential, right? And you got a huge leg down, sideways action, big push down, fast price action, reel in the sellers, give them what they want, then yank it back up, close the candle here, make the candle bounce, fight for the floor. Now you have no resistance, so you go straight to cost basis, or the old one. And then there's really very low resistance overhead, right? There's not a lot of consolidation here, and that could lead to an immediate reversal, pull back here, right? And then squeeze up a little bit into that. Is it worth taking Neo? If not, man, I don't. If you can position yourself correctly or in a good place, I don't have anything negative to say about that. But that's the issue. It could be a squirrely fucker to catch, because at this point in time, I mean, if I'm being real with you guys, there's a ton of potential. Of course, there's $5 contracts that could play out, $5.50 contracts that could play out. But again, you're going to have to position yourself. And if we gap up, above like 425, you're going to rip up, and then you're going to probably immediately pull back. And so if you buy, you got to buy on point, and that's going to be determined. So you're probably thinking like, well, how the fuck do I do that? That's going to be your pre-market planning. So tomorrow morning, we'll discuss Neo. All right, PDD up, and I've been staying away from Chinese stocks lately, besides Neo, just because they've been really difficult to interpret. Now, PDD has a little bit more clarity than I think a lot of the other Chinese stocks, so it gives me a little bit more to work with, where I have 3 series of boxes underneath me, strong support, and then right here we have the current channel, right? And that's the channel that we're traveling in. Now, this is a small channel, and as you can see, this channel has been a part of a much larger channel, So the potential behind Chinese stocks, and, again, I think upon the, again, hopefully we get a new administration, but when we do have a new administration, I think that Chinese stocks will be a no-brainer buy. You can write that down and put it on a fucking Post-it note, because as we get to the end of his term, and if we have greater insight on who's going to be elected next, this is a long time from now, but if Chinese stocks are still down, delicious. Right. So anyway, with PDDD, it is going to be, I think a large move is coming. You can see the same price action kind of in here, just a little bit more stretched out. You got empty space up to 115. So if you were aiming for this, again, I think if you hit the floor and you hold it at 103, that would be my preference. So if you gap down and you're right here, I would want to see, if you hold, I think you gap up and you hit 110. And then you'll see, again, the next leg up. But there's also a pretty strong, or what was pretty strong, trend here as well that you could play off of. So, Disney. You guys don't mind tapping the ever living crap out of your screen? That'd be sick. I'd appreciate that. Try to fight the algo. I'm gonna have to start a new damn TikTok. They really got me cinched up. I don't ever say anything weird anyway, so it's like fucking like, what are you guys doing? I'm probably like at least one of the cleanest creators on here. PDD, was it? Oh, does it have an ER? Does that have a ER? I didn't know that. No, it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you got a long ways to earnings, but I mean, again, Chinese stocks in general, just kind of waiting for a big bang. Clearly a lot of holders on the floor, so anyway, back to Disney. So here's what I see on Disney. You are in a precarious area where you are looking at a potential reversal. And here's some of the signs of that potential reversal. So first off, you are bouncing on the structure down below. You did that on Friday. If you gap down, I think you have one last level to bounce at, and that would be right here at 119. If you can bounce, you have decent empty space. You already did retest 120.50, so 120.50 is the absolute floor. This is where life gets simple because you don't have to overcomplicate shit, and this is where the chart always gives you the answer. Now, there's a small gap up right here on Disney, and then there's a small box, right? That's probably going to be an hourly box, I would assume, with its cost base being touched at 122. So gap fill 122 and then the floor. But again, that's looking for Disney to keep moving up. And what you'll find is this previous resistance right here is your cost basis and is that last resistance to get you up to 126.44. All right. Meta. So if you guys want to let me know what direction or where you're actually taking this, that would also be pretty helpful. Right. So the first thing, and again, I'm just going to say it flat out. Do I see a play on it right now? No, I don't. You know, I think this is an area where you could start looking at the potential behind a couple things and pointing out a few, right? One of those things is that you gapped up above all-time highs, you lost that, retested it, and came back down. So clearly sellers are not happy about all-time highs, and they're making an effort to try to shove you back down. On the 4-hour, you can see that just as clear with a 707.80 top, and that's essentially where you would fall. But you are trading down, similar to Disney, with a small channel. So I would suspect that somewhere in this area of around 703, 702, slightly underneath the top, and I could be a little bit more gracious with that, but 705.75, and you'll notice that there are some signs for potential reversal, like this small gap, and again, this is called having attention or attention to detail. There's empty space right here, and so I suspect that you could end up making a sweet channel and popping. So, all right. I got those probably about 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. HD. So this is, again, not something I really see as I mean, I do see the upside potential, but this is definitely not something that I personally think I want to put on my watch list, given where it's at on the weekly, buried underneath 388, which is where sellers and where buyers need to put the price back up, or 390 if you want to call it that, is probably a more solid price target. So 390 could be the potential outside of 380 break, 390. But otherwise, you're trapped inside of this major range and looking for a recovery of that. Once that's recovered, now you have a different story. You have an odd range, right? You don't have a box. This is a range, or what most people would have called a head and shoulders, right? But at the end of the day, if the floor gets recovered, cost basis at 313 and 317, because you kind of have a box there as well, that's where you could go and look for that break over 435. But again, this is not where. Yeah, it's also extremely expensive. So, Pony? Riley, I don't think that anybody who is bullish at the moment should be worried about the gap down. At least I'm saying that right now, right? Now, this could lead to, um, depending on how we trade going from here. But if you'll notice, we're right on the floor. And inside of a box, right, gapping down to a floor will typically give you a bounce, and that will give you the median, and you have two off at the top. So you could see this go green and wake up. Oh, I got you. BA doesn't really follow the, I think the DJT, I don't know what their features are. Or not, the Dow Jones is what you watch for BA, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure what their futures are, I forget. All right, what else do we got, guys? Keep dropping your request here. CNLH, that doesn't exist. CLNH. CNLH. Yeah, so obviously this is not something that I would be watching, clearly. It looks like you have a weird ass box. It's not even really a box. This thing doesn't observe normal price action, but I guess 773 and maybe 930. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna short it down, you need it back down underneath $7 flat. And honestly, 643 is, but yeah, again, even downside is bad. HMR. Oh, well, your last hope right now, dude, is off the floor. Damn, dude, who the fuck told you to get an HMR? I'd be fucking beating someone's ass if they got me into this. Yeah, man, you better hope for a fucking bounce off that floor. Levi is squeezing out. Okay, so you have another target here on Levi right there at 2282. That's simple. Where it goes from there, again, that's going to be based on how you respond to that box directly up above, which is 2375. NCLH. So this one was super successful play, everybody, obviously. Um, uh, it's crazy, man. I got to start making more content. We make so many of these plays that like hit like this that I just kind of forget to brag about it. But I do see the potential here, especially with the gap down for a 2219 retest. If it does gap down to that target, that would make for a pretty sweet potential reversal, where you could use this lower time frame channel. I have a good feeling that NCLH will come back up. And if you're paying attention, use that hourly. You've got a box right here. So if you come back down for a retest anywhere in there, you'll be watching this channel, which hasn't really fully developed at the moment. But I'm going to go ahead and assume it should look something like this. So even 2230 could be a target there. But ultimately, I mean, if you look at how small this box is up above you, it's outside of 2290 that you would really be looking at for that punchback. So it does have potential to, and then the target above is $24, which is a decent target actually. So, I don't know how much. I mean, I'll put it on the watch list, I think, but that one would almost be a day trade over anything else. All right. PLTR. So this is another one that I'm staying away from because I have a feeling, especially with how much volume was driven into it and how popular it got, staying away from it for the most part. It has been operating inside of this channel right here, which is a part of something much larger, but it's just a deviation. So that being said, it's not really my focus. No. but here's what I'm looking at, right? Because I do have equity on PLTR. I've had equity for years now. And so at the moment with that 145 retest there and that being the second bounce, I'd like to see PLTR curl back down and really go and test a little bit further at 127.30 and curl back up that way. So I mean, more time is needed, I think, at the moment. There is a play obviously down, and I think really when that this 125 is lost and closed below and you've punched below this box, I think 125 will really signify the potential for a reversal there. So Walmart, this one is taking a long ass time and it did fail on its cost basis breakout, which is rare, but it is inside of a weekly box, which does bend the rules, and this is on usually the most lowest volume or dinosaurs. Not, it doesn't have low volume, it has big volume, and it's controlled by heavy institutions, which just makes it slower. And with that being said, it is more or less in a weekly box than anything else. So I would be looking at Walmart below, and I'm still absolutely certain that it will be find its way back up, but you have to look at what's underneath it, and this is one of my main focuses at the moment. And that's going to be at 93.45 and then possibly giving you a $90 retest. But again, not one that I want on my watch list. So that one has an easy target to the downside at 250. Don't overcomplicate that one, but you do have a box that you're just popping out of, and that box's cost basis is basically your previous resistance, right? So that's important, I think, for me going forward, because that ultimately is going to be where this reverses back up and out. And this floor, if you are to fall quickly, which would be your preference, if you could give yourself another gnarly fall, this would be a nice reversal to play. STZ up, STZ up. Yeah, so I could see, I think I talked about this one before. It has very interesting empty pockets of space, right? I'm personally looking at 177 outside of 175.50, right? So 177 and then potential 183.72. I don't like how it moves intraday, so it's not a watch list stock for me. But yeah, looks good on the weekly. Yeah, way better on the weekly. So this is something that would require a longer expiration, and you'd be looking at 183.23 as a target. Give me 1 second, guys. Shout out to Indirect Anal for the drink, by the way. Don't worry, he's on the Discord. That's his screen name. I don't know what else to call him, man. I'm sure he'll be watching this back. All right. That's his screen name, man. All right. Target. So Target looks great on the weekly, at least for now, but it is, guys, over 106.75 and a target of 112. Period in a story. Hava. So man, I tell you what, that was actually a pretty job well done. Wasn't able to capture Kava to its full potential, but I do see a target of 93.42. And the question really here is this enough to get Kava all the way back to 111? And so those of you who are looking at more longer dated swings, this is definitely one that should be added to the watch list. And I don't mind. I know it's ripped, so I would like for it to possibly go sideways a little bit more. But again, stocks don't always do what you want, and sometimes you just have to take your trade. And looking at how Kava has ran in the past, it's perfectly possible for that to do it over $100.88. But I do want to mention that this is absolutely not a box and is a range. So 97.35 only gives you the top at 188, and how you respond to that is going to be. But honestly, it's not a bad setup. I do like that for a upside play to the 110s. So CVX up, so staying away from oil personally, but this one has done everything that we talked about, and it's pretty functionally or price wise, it's been pretty reliable. Now this is an important floor because this separates you from your next target, which is going to be 160 or 159.25. You can screenshot that and look at it. Okay, plenty. Starbucks. So this is another one that I am waiting patiently because it does have a great setup, but does need more patience. We're dealing with a box up above. That box has been reliable. Its cost base has been reliable. That's 98 bucks. But of course, that's going to be over 96. So a candle close at 96 should give us the power to move through that. And the first target would naturally be 105. And we are still waiting on that one. It is one that we could add to the watch list as well this week because it does have a considerable amount of consolidation. It can do more, but it is pretty considerable. I drink coffee. Yeah, I drink coffee. Not like super crazy, but I have like a quarter, half cup of coffee a day, but I eat like 10 neurogums. So Nike, I talked about this one earlier. If it really depends on what we do. I could see a bounce off of 71.45, but ultimately you are at cost basis. So if you can bounce, recover even 73.15, you have a gap to fill. I do see this one coming back up. It's just based on how this little channel is pulling itself together. So even if that means, like I said, 71.60 gets wicked off of or gap down, it could still play out to the upside. So what type of coffee? Um, Stumptown Roasters. Homestead, yeah. Yeah, that one is one of our favorites. We already looked at that one. So if you want to see that one, you have to watch the YouTube later back. By the way, if you do watch this YouTube, or you're watching this back later, if you don't mind, just drop a comment or a like on the video. That would be really, really cool. It does help out a lot. So all right, ABGO is definitely inside of consolidation. The weekly doesn't seem like it's had enough quite yet. Honestly, this is again one of those things that I personally not really interested in. Although when you do go to the 4 hour, it does create a little bit more of an interesting vibe. So you had a punchback, right? You're hanging on to that same floor. So you have a floor directly underneath you here. And if 270 is lost, then you would be moving down into this box. But ultimately, I think the way you could set this up is just say, that's where sellers control the price. So rejection of 277.25 could actually give you, and I just would be, I wouldn't really even look at anything else, but basically 263.75. At this house, you don't love me. Does have a lot of empty space. It does, but it is a fucking dinosaur. Okay. The way that it moves is just horrendous. Now, I like to try to look for early signs of channels, and it looks like I'm pretty good at that one. So my thoughts are right now, you're aiming for the halfway mark, which is basically 1450. That's not neurogum that I just put in my mouth. I just put two 9 milligram pouches in my mouth of nicotine. But yes, NeuroGum does work for me anyway. I've had a couple of people tell me it didn't really work for them, but I'm not sure if it works for everybody. Yeah, Zins. No, Velos. It's not NeuroGum. It's just pouches. Yeah, that's how I run all of these neural meth. Carvana. Yeah, we just talked about that one. Or no, we didn't. Never mind, I lied. So this is getting close to all-time highs. It's already tapped it. It's rejecting off of it, man. So this is again not something. It's not super clear. It does have a wide range underneath it. You can't really even put a box on much of this. I think really what's most important is that you've kind of lost the 346 level. So that's going to be a really important level to reclaim that in 353. Otherwise, I would honestly see some downside here to 326. That one actually, and then honestly, because of the gap right here, 319 could also be a target to the downside as well. Yeah, and you also are operating in this channel here. I think we've already, yeah, you're really far from that. So, yeah, I think maybe a pullback. Our pouch is bad for gums. I don't think they're good for them. Shoving fiberglass in your mouth, not really a super. I'm an upper decky. I do both, actually, but mostly upper. Upper decky. I also do upper deckers in my house. You know what I mean? So this one's a little weird. The floor is a little weird. But that being said, I think this comes back up a little later, but look for 99. If not 99, possibly 95 or 95 flat, or 95.60 or 95 flat. But at the moment, you're inside of this range. So not this one. I don't really know if I like the way that it moves enough to take it. But when it does climb and curl back up above, almost basically right where it rejected at 105, I think that's a sure shot. But NVIDIA up. So I still have a target to the upside on this one, all the way at 171. Now that could change to 172, but I've had that target there based off of this channel that we've been operating in for quite some time. And that's because we're all at all-time highs, and that's just where I can't help you guys as much as I can when we're in structure. So the only thing I can do for you is tell you what's below you, and then let you know how you basically fell. And that's going to give you insight on whether or not this can actually reverse. And so you're looking at 164.50. You already have, at the end of the day, established a small box, and that might seem insignificant, but it is significant enough. And then here's where the real issue is. The floor is immediately like right at 165. And that's, you go look at the hourly or the 30-minute, it definitely, I think the hourly and the 30-minute, really the 30-minute kind of show that it's kind of right up in the 166. But again, when you don't have boxes up above you, it makes life difficult. But you move that back down to the 15-minute and you see that that is obviously the floor that needs to be recovered at 166, 166.10. So is that a good setup that I would be trading at the moment? No, because it just came off of a huge move and it's sitting on top of the box. So, I mean, at least, again, it's an all-time highs. I stay away from those. So, Tesla. So I'm looking at Tesla, and this could be a really interesting play. But ultimately, the way that you dumped previously is definitely got my ears peeled, because I have the empty space here and some in here as well that are both looking like lucrative opportunities. And then you also have a small lower time frame channel that we're operating in, and that says that we should at minimum hit 332. And so, that's a target that I have to the upside. And then obviously all the way up into the 340s. And that's going to be huge. That all depends on this floor. And this right here, the 332, has been huge. But right now, I think the most important thing is that we hold 305. Otherwise, we're in danger of retesting 302 and possibly falling even further. So, Google. So Google, honestly, this one is a really interesting prospect in terms of the touches. Now, in terms of empty space, it is limited because the floor that you're trying to test or the floor that you're trying to reclaim is just another box, which doesn't really lead you to much empty space unless you are looking at the empty space that's in above 187. 50, which is essentially, yes, like you have pockets of empty space right here that you could fill to 190, but I think 190 and 187 are going to be your two biggest targets and candle closes. Link, not really seeing any huge opportunities. Quite. Oh my God. All right, brother. So yeah, this is definitely not something that I'm going to try to pretend to help you with. You know, I can draw boxes or try to make things make sense. And I will tell you on these electronically traded stocks, the cost basis and your box, like everything is going to be precision, you know, like because it's all just computers trading shit back and forth when it looks like this. So you can rely on at least that. Now you have 613 underneath you, and then a floor that you held at 530, and then to the upside, obviously 810 and $9 are your triggers. So Rivian. Rivian isn't ready. No, it's not. It is currently still bearish in the sense that it is being held down underneath what was a pretty serious sell level. It can't seem to get back up above this box. I enjoyed the ride that it made up, but of course, that fell short. So honestly, I think we're probably in for um, uh, a hard time as Rivian continues to pinch. And I think the potential here is astronomical. And I think Rivian will end up being a forgotten about stock before it decides. I mean, listen, if you keep this one, have alerts on it. This is a life, and I don't, you guys don't ever hear me say this, but I do think that Rivian will be one of those like ELTRs. Because if you think about like, you know, Rivian's been in the back burner from Tesla, and I'm not one to really include fundamentals in my analysis, and I don't really think this is fundamentals. But you look at how much investments. I mean, we do have Rivians on the road. We do have Amazon, you know, pushing their Rivians out as well. I have them around dropping off shit at my house. And you have everything on the chart that also says that there is strong potential for this to come back. You look at the monthly, and the monthly screams that it wants to go back up, and it has a channel right here to support that. So there is a absolute opportunity. I think, you know, like outside a monthly candle, you know, above 1650, a weekly candle above 1650, or even $18, you know, that gives us the gap fill. And I think at that point, it's a hot stock again. People are talking about it, and we start looking at, you know, whether or not we want to try to take it all the way up. And you could try to quote me on this one because it'd be pretty cool if I was right. But I really think that Rivian could curl and then just give you a fucking ripper, aka a cup. So, elf down, trying to short my net worth. That's all right. So I'm actually encouraging, I would love to see this thing come down a little bit more. I'd really like to see it fall faster. And even though, you know, I have a decent amount of equity here, I want this. Ultimately, I'd like to see a retest in two different places. One of those places would be, you know, awesome, but that's 108. Second place that I'd like to see a real big bounce is going to be right around the 102 and $100 mark. And the reason that I am encouraging that is because of the way that it's falling right now. It's leaving behind empty space, pockets, and gaps. And so I am absolutely encouraged by the way that this thing is falling, that it will return back to sender and eventually, you know, I think get back up to, you know, I still see gaps at 170. So I'm in for the long haul here until something actually goes wrong. Neo and Tesla futures are up. Yeah, let me see if there's Chinese ETF futures. Uh-oh. I pulled that up and it shut down. Go a long way, but I'm a long way from home because of it. Yeah, I just wanted to see whether or not we have um something that would show me price now, but there's nothing. Well, it's all right. I can wait. I'm not impatient. All right, PPTA up to 1550 this week. I would be looking at this second arm to 1525, and then sure 1516 when I wouldn't pull it short. Neo is at 4. Okay, I mean that's cost basis, so we could see a strong move. Man, listen, dude, I still have hundreds of contracts left. Just another bump up, dude, and shit. This year is starting to scare me. It's just working. So this year's been the best year of my career for sure. Take a vacation. I will be soon, but does your strategy work if someone simply does want to invest in stocks? 100%. In fact, I would much prefer, I mean, if I ever started a fund, I would be doing a lot of that and it would make my job so much easier. So much. Yeah, I don't have a LLC I'm trading under, but it's a different one. Um, I'm gonna be happy with what Neo has already paid and whatever else is icing on the cake. 100%. 100%. CR trading. Are you in the Discord, my guy? Cade. Oh, Cade Roberts. That's Cade. Let's see. Some more. That actually doesn't have a terrible setup at all. It looks like buyers are still in control. It still has a box up above. I would be looking for a 40-50 break. And yeah, I mean, channel wise, you're looking good. But obviously, the box underneath you is going to be, um, that's going to be important. You can't even see my arms, Cade. What are you talking about? Don't make me whip these fuckers out, dude. I'm just kidding. I sold half my Neo. I have 150. Dude, if this opens, I had a dream that Neo had news. I don't remember what it was in my dream, but I had a dream that it went to $18. And then I checked the chart on Neo earlier and I went to look at $18, like what that was. And there is actually, so like at 18, right on the dot, there's a floor right here. And there's empty space even beyond that. But I don't know why my brain thought 18, but I mean, dude, there's a lot. There's a lot. I'm actually kind of a little bit blowed. I don't know if this shot high enough, I would actually use the contracts. I would, yeah. I no, I mean the potential behind this chart is big. Maybe it doesn't happen until administration changes, but I could see a large squeeze. There's certain levels. So let me explain this really quickly because I think this is really the most important thing. So keep it simple on the weekly. That's point A. We did that, right? And then, oh, this song used to come on all the time in jail. I don't want to listen to this. And then that 411 is going to be huge. And then really at $5, I think that's where you're going to start to see squeeze energy into 6. And then from there, man, I mean, but equity wise, this is starting to really drop into the radar. Definitely has more downside potential. And I think that 470 and 480s I mean, that's going to be a fucking bastard of a level because it's been a bastard of a level. So, hair looking crazy today, dude. Oh, shit. Oh, dude, I mean, yeah. Hold on, let me look this. Hold on one second. If the market will rip, I think if Jerome Powell, but then I think it'll correct itself almost immediately. Um, Dell, okay. So it does look like it's going for a breakout, but of course the overhead target would be 147.50. What I go to jail for? I got pulled over with a one little one like that big. Actually, it's probably like that big, and then I had a maybe a little bit like that, and yeah, I did a year. Um, when starting making big bucks, gotta have a tax strategy trust or an LLC. Um, I mean, I literally cannot tell you. That's got to be financial advice. But I know that S corps, if you're making over like 40 bands off of your trading, that LLC is good for to start. But yeah, S corp is probably what you'd like to look at. Um, yeah, I did a year. Georgia does not play. Yeah, hard time. 360 plus days, man. Was in prison, so it's all right. OKLO. So this one's going to likely be inside of consolidation, making trading a little bit tough, but you can see the area that it's trying to consolidate in. And right now, I think it's over 58.75 that you could go and hit that top. You'll actually notice that if you move down into a little bit of a lower time frame on the 4 hour, you have a lower time frame channel that's like kind of oddly broken out. I don't know if I really trust that too much because at the end of the day, channels come second to boxes, and boxes are what currently are holding this thing back at 58.30, and then another trigger directly above at 64.30. So I do. A year for, yeah, it was stupid. I had never been in trouble before. My public defender hugged the judge. I was 19, you know. I've actually had people be like, I don't want to, why should I trust you? And like, dude, if you really think that I'm a fucking criminal, like, I don't want you in there anyway. It does not hurt my feelings. I think it's been expunged. I think there's like a certain amount of time, but JetBlue. Wow, this is a okay. So off the bat, again, not a setup that I really, really like at the moment. It does have an odd setup that almost makes me think that it could receive news. And if that was true, and I have a pretty good eye for spotting like news setups, I think you hit 575, and I think that's due to the box above you, which you've already tested, but you did pull back into. So I mean, right now, inconclusive. Carolinas don't care either. I don't know why the crime is so far greater. Yeah, it was rough. I lost four teeth in there. It was rough. So this is another one that's going to qualify as a weekly ranged box. And again, I think I drew this before. There is a pretty gnarly channel here. This could be, honestly, this is where sometimes I'll flip that chart upside down and it does look good over 10 or under 1015 to go for a 637 break and try to get up into that or down into that empty space. So, yeah, actually flipping your chart upside down is a great tool because it definitely gives you, especially if you're somebody who's more bullish, it definitely makes things a little bit more clear. So I definitely can see that when I flip that chart upside down for sure. GSAT. All right. So dude, actually, I was like, God, Cade, me and Cade. Yeah, we traded the shit out of this. Why? Sorry if we go through all that. Yeah, it's over now though. It's over. Me and Peyton were having a look back at the valley kind of moment the other day. Just looking at how far you know, we've come. It's pretty crazy, man. Can't define somebody, at that age. Who knows? GSAT has a box that is trying to attempt to go grab the floor of. I think above 2880, you'll go to cost basis, which is 31 bucks. Now from there, dude, I mean, clearly it's 43 that you could go and hit again. But dude, this is a nightmare I mean, this is a nightmare of a range. So the only place that I think is worth aiming for is the top. um, KSS. So this one still has potential. I think the way that you closed on Friday kind of showed that buyers are still dealing with this one, the balls. This is actually one that can be put on the watch list as it has yet to break out. And that's going to be over Friday's highs, clearly. But here's the current predicament, right? This is where sellers control the price, and that's where they have price currently held down. So if you can even get outside of the wicks at 965, I think that will give you a head start on making your way above 995. But at the moment, that's the current predicament. And then this box is really the only area that holds this up. So that's what you're dealing with at the moment, IBM. Um, Okay, so already, again, this is not something that I would be trading myself. I don't like the way that IBM moves. That's just my personal preference. It's not that the chart looks terrible. It does have the box up above, and that's what you pushed off of on Friday. You left a gap down below or up above, and then it looks like the candle closed over here to your left, and the bounce off of 277 is going to give you a target of 280.50 down below if you continue to fall. It does look like on the 4 hour that changes pretty dramatically and becomes two boxes. And that's a real thing, right? That's why we do top-down analysis. Usually when I see that kind of shit, that lets me know this is going to be more complicated. So if you lose the previous low of 280, 250, then you'll get 279, and then you'll get your gap fill, and then I think you'll get your breakdown to 670, or 270, sorry. Reddit. So this one's being held down under a previous resistance, which is 148. If you can break back up above that, I think this area that you're currently consolidating in could become its own box, kind of like this. But yeah, so actually I could see outside of 147.87, you could see a pullback up, and it's over 154 that this has a better chance of breaking up. But this is, again, not something that I would trade, at least not yet. It does have it play back down for sure if it does lose that structure, especially 140. All right, UPS. UPS actually kind of failed me a little bit. I thought it might have a chance to, and it still does. I thought it might have a chance to get back up and out of there, but really, really struggling. It left behind a small gap, wicked off of that 102 area, and then pulled back. So watch for a bounce off of 100 because that's the last place that we can bounce, and that's where the gap is basically filled. Um, again, you know, this is coming out of a strong uptrend, you know, box, but at the end of the day, you know, we failed, and we are currently underneath that 103, so it's bearish for now until it gets back up above 103. So until so this is another hot dog water stock. I actually have equity in it. That's the only way that you'll ever find me trading it. It is currently sitting, you know, again, and I'm looking at this from a weekly perspective because it's the only area that really makes the most sense. And that's really where 26.25 is going to be the main target above us. We have a $25 target on a lower time frame, but this is just one that until it gets out of this area of consolidation, I don't bother trying to trade it until it gets outside of that and makes a trip up to 30. UAL. So this one again, empty space is my indicator, and on the weekly you filled up almost basically all of that. You have a little bit more above that high, but that definitely takes away a lot of the opportunity that would have been available on this chart. And now it just becomes the, you know, again, expansion and then contraction. So I would be looking at an 85.25 retest, and at that point, you know, maybe there is a channel that you're trading in here, and we could be looking at a nasty fall. But again, do I think news will affect Intel? Yeah, that's something that news could definitely give, because that thing doesn't make large moves without it. So this is we charted this one before, and you know it didn't hardly even get halfway to where it needed to go before it failed. It actually ended up rejecting an old cost basis, and failing. So right now, you know, again, the play on this one is null and void until, you know, you get below 75.25 or underneath 73.24, which could give you 69. Are you watching Fear and Greed Index? No, I do not. I can see. So funny enough that you say that, Stellar. I could literally remember um, where I had people telling me, you know, people are always looking at different indicators, but I remember when we were going for all-time highs. This was on the way there. And if I'm not mistaken, we also were, what were we? I think after that couple of days, it was like in bullish, you know, we were basically just underneath greed, and then it just stagnated. And that this type of price action is a bigger sign to me than that. So Neo just hit 417 in overnight trading. I don't know how much I trust that, but listen, I'll kiss you right on the mouth, dude. All right, Adam Dangler. I'm gonna dangle her if we hit fucking $5. I'm sorry. He said, "Mwah." You know what it is. I don't have Robinhood, so I can't really see. Yeah, this drink is numbing my tongue. I don't know what flavor that is. Oh my god. Oh, oh, you gotta think I swim. That's wild. They have like overnight future trading or whatever it's called. So, all right. For Coca-Cola, this is another kind of low I mean, just doesn't have the setup I like. It's heavy at the top, consolidating at the top, but buyers are stepping up at that $69 level. So I mean, until as long as they keep doing that, this is going to continue to stay in this range until it gets above 72.50. It's rough. Weeble overnight. How do you see that shit? Oh, I see it. Okay. 413. I mean, I'm mad at that. I just joined your Discord and the scammer are already sending me friend request. Okay, thank you for telling me that. I listen, they are mad aggressive. All right, sorry, how do you get that off? Will you send DM me? Will you DM me his name? Tony. Will you DM? Yeah, send me screenshots of that. I'll accept your friend request. Um, yeah, somebody send me a DM of that, please, and I'll take care of it. All right. SoFi, did I look at that one already? Okay, good. Yeah, that one we already have discussed that one. 2275 is the target there. Snow. Snow's still inconclusive. It is at cost basis at 209. That is a good bounce area. It did fall fast above 215.50. You're going to go back to cost basis and you could punch back out. But if you punch down again, your next target is going to be 203.65. That trigger does give you a 194 target. So all right, folks. I want to go ahead and end this video, just give you guys a synopsis on how I'm feeling going into this week. Everything is getting close, right? It's not quite there. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of consolidation. Going into the average 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is getting close to that average amount of consolidation that we typically like to see. We're not too boxed in, kind of like we are here to make a total. I mean, and this is still a possibility, but we haven't made a range quite like that yet. Now, if that range is created, I believe, because we can't see it quite yet, that it would be 616, and that would widen our range. But ultimately, at the moment, because we're still at all-time highs, on most of our major ETFs, I am still sitting on the sidelines. I'm not trying to trade them to the upside. If you guys do that, that is totally up to you. This is just how I maintain my discipline, because that's how I can't do it. Anytime I have to guess, I get fearful. And when I get fearful, I make the same dumbass mistakes that everybody else does. And every new trader in the world, I revert back, and that's not what I want to do. So IWM still has a tough wall. If anything, that one has more of a probability to fall and retest 219 and possibly 218. So on the watch list for this week, I'll walk you guys really quickly through this. We still have Pepsi. Pepsi is going to be trying to reach up into 140s into earnings. I am holding into that target. It is approaching and looking at a 106.50 break for that 112 target. Still watching that one. TTD, it is not there yet, but it is getting close. Has empty space that we're going to quarter up like a fish and look for a 87.40 target, but that is still not triggered. It's not an immediate worry. Neo, of course, we're just trying to just slurp as much out of this shit as we can. And I will say this: if we are above 417 or in the teens, that does put us above that floor at 406, and that is a big thing. And I really do think that we can rely on our target being in the 440s or close to that 450 target, putting us up directly towards that 471. Yeah, just screenshot it on your phone, Michael. Try to, or take a picture on your phone and then send that picture to me so I can find that person and then ban them. I'm also going to send them a long message. It might be hateful. I've made a couple scammers break characters. It's been pretty cool. Um, Okay, so moving on, Apple is also on the watch list. You'll notice again, all of these are going to be looking relatively the same, save for Neo. But 213 candle close above the floor, above the wick. 215, we have the target of 220. If it aims down, you have a target of 204. Not aiming down, I need to know for sure that it's going to keep going down and give us that floor, or maybe give us more. So I'm again looking more up than anything else on that one. AA is a long play that we could be looking at least short term. There's a $33 target above the 3190s. That could probably is, if you're aiming for 33, that's got to be at least 2 weeks. If you're aiming all the way up here to 45, that's got to be at least 4 to 5, maybe 6 months, or you're just looking at an equity purchase. But again, I haven't decided, and it has not triggered. Run is also on the watch list. This one, not really favorable to the downside. I do think that the potential is better up, giving you runners up into 15. So that one looks pretty interesting. But again, we're in this wide volatile block, so it's tough. KSS is still a potential, again, over that wick into that empty space, looking at 1116 as a target. Starbucks is starting to get closer to breaking what I think is that consolidation. I mean, you have a similar block here, similar block there, so we're looking at cost basis or basically just above 9610 for that new upside. Kava is also on the watch list this week as well, but this one is going to be a little bit longer, as we're looking at 9350 to respond and 97, as well as just going and hitting the top, because this is not a box, it is a range, and that is where we'd be looking for a break. And if you look at it on the weekly, it almost looks like a no-brainer play as it curls back up off that floor and heads to 112. All right, last one is NCLH. And this one has a little bit more potential, up to $24. I probably will end up day trading that one, and I am looking to take this one off of a bounce underneath at around $22. So hopefully we can see a small gap down and I can play that up. That is it for me. I want to remind everybody that I did just wrap up and finish the last Potterbox class. So if you've taken it before, you should have access to it now. And I really, really recommend, especially if you're struggling, to get back, go watch that all the way through, be motivated, ask me questions. If you haven't gotten it, or you're still looking at signing up or anything like that, that is going to be the best option, is anything that includes the workshop, which is, yearly and lifetime. So I joined, but I don't know how to use the Discord. DM anybody in there, man. Go into the live trading chat. I'll walk you through this. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, though, and then I'll show you so that way I can make sure this gets on YouTube. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and, I don't know, do a backflip. But anyway,